and development in Libra. I'm here to talk about email security. This is not a marketing speech. I aim at providing you with some useful information for the future, to manage this issue, email security, which is a complex and an important issue, because you know that 90% of the malware, phishing, ransomware, Trojans, data breaches, for each of these categories, over 90% of the attacks begins with an email. So email security is important, and is an excellent observation point for the security in general. So now we know that email security systems are everywhere, and there is one thing that all of these systems can do, even the least effective ones: blocking known threats. Signature patterns. If a known threat comes in, it will be blocked. And this is commodity. This is what everybody does. That's why malware authors, phishing authors, have to find ways to change, to not to be recognized, and they have to adopt obfuscation techniques, any technique that allows them to go through these inspection systems. It's not easy to do it in an undetectable way. So they are forced today to do it, and the traditional approach to this new zero-day threat, zero-day malware, has been proposing solutions that work on the marketing side, but they are not that effective on the technical side. We see that malware phishing are on the rise. So this is a practical demonstration that these solutions have not been working as expected. This is a replacement market. So it's mostly about customers that are not satisfied and search for another vendor. So proposing a novel solution, something that sounds novel and sounds complex, works on the marketing side. But complexity itself is an issue. The reason why we have so many security problems is complexity. We have complex systems with a very big attack surface, and the security systems should treat complexity as a cost, which does not mean avoiding complexity, but weighting the pros and the cons in order not to be weakened by the complexity and not to become themselves abusable. So we have this issue. Malware authors have this problem. They have to find a way to go through these detections. It's not that hard, but as I said, it's hard to do it without being detected. So if you look for those evasion attempts, you can take actions in a more efficient way, rather than trying to reverse engineer the camouflage and understand what the malware aims to do. The analogy is someone that enters a bank with a mask on the face. You really don't care what his real name is, his social security number, or his personal data. You really can immediately take action based just on the fact that it's adopting a camouflage. We have an excellent observation point, as I said, because our company is only about email security. Email security is not one of our fields. We do email security every day. The whole team works on it. And we have a worldwide presence. We have email security gateways all over the world. And if you know something about email security, you know how important is the type of traffic. An end user, a consumer that has his mailbox on an ISP has a different email traffic and different threats than a governmental organization or a pharmaceutical industry or an educational, a university, a school, and so on. Internet service provider, managed service providers, they all have different traffics, different threats, and being able to monitor all of these types of traffic is very, very important. We also analyze links because, of course, as I will show you in a minute, one of the vectors of the email attacks is using links. So we also make link analysis, and web analysis. So traditionally, we have a number of techniques, of inspection techniques, based on signature patterns, semantic analysis, heuristics, machine learning. Some of these terms sound novel and are marketing buzzwords, but machine learning, for example, we've been using it since 1996 in the spam management. We started with spam control, and then we moved to email security. So, for each of these techniques, there is a camouflage technique. For example, obfuscating the content of the attachment, and there are many ways I will show you later. Linking the dropper, the malware dropper, as a web link rather than attaching to the email, so that the email security system has less information to work on. Using domains with neutral reputation, abusing legit domains, and using compromised domains. The key here is, if we try to reverse engineer the camouflage attempts, it's complicated. Sometimes it's very impossible, because there is really smart people on the other side, and they can create really difficult to reverse engineer camouflage and obfuscation techniques. But if you look for those obfuscation attempts, it's much easier to detect the threat. I'll show you some examples that are very simple. It doesn't matter if you don't have a technical knowledge, it's easy to understand these concepts. This is a very simple obfuscation technique inside an email. This is a PayPal phishing, and you see that the word is splitted and separated by HTML tags in order to make hard for an automated system to detect the semantic of the message and to understand that this email talks about PayPal. As I said, this is a very simple example. You can complicate it at will, but the concept is the same. Putting into action this kind of camouflage attempts reveals the malicious intention of the attacker, and at that point, just like the person that enters in the bank with a mask on the face, I really don't care what is the semantic of the message. I understood the intention of the attacker. Another way to mask is masking the reputation. We have seen this year for months in a row, every day, a new account on an email marketing platform being compromised and used to deliver malware. On MailChimp, we had for something 3 or 4 months in a row, every day, a new legit account on MailChimp that was being abused and used to deliver malware. They probably gathered credentials through database leaks, through brute force attempts, and every day they used a new one. And then every day they made a new campaign in Italy, France, England, Germany, and other countries. So this is a way to defeat the reputation checks, because you have a legit email coming from a legit platform, from a legit account on that platform. That account has been used for legit traffic since the previous day. And you also use the company CDN to deliver the malware. So you don't have a bad reputation site hosting the dropper. These attacks can be defeated using, of course, semantic analysis and machine learning, but also using sandboxing for the attachment and sandboxing for the leaks. I will talk a little bit about that later. Camouflage of the attachment. You can obfuscate the attachment, you can encrypt the attachment, which is the easiest way. You can have droppers with small macros that decrypt an encrypted payload or deobfuscate an obfuscated payload. Now, in order to deliver this kind of attack, first of all, you need the payload that has to be decrypted. And having an encrypted or obfuscated payload is in itself an important signal. But you also need to have to perform 3 kinds of operation. Even if you have a small dropper inside a document, inside a Word file, you need to perform 3 simple operations. Usually download the payload from the internet or read it from the file, access the file system to write it, and execute it. These are operations that are really, really unusual on legit documents. So we are able to detect these operations to remove the code, so even if the document passed all of the other checks, it is delivered as a disarmed document, a PDF without the JavaScript, a Word document without the markers. In this way, we disarm the attacker. We remove the tools that they absolutely need in order to perform the attack. If a dropper needs to access the file system, needs to execute stuff. Okay, this is the case, again, of the dropper. So we have a little macro, or a little JavaScript, or a little embedded object inside a PDF that performs these kinds of operations. We disarm the document and we deliver the disarmed document, even if all of the other checks passed, so that you don't have the tools to complete the attack. The other way of bringing the malware through email on the computer is to use a link. You now have even less information to analyze because the email is short, contains text, contains one link, and usually you don't have reputation information because the link points to a compromised site. The site has just been compromised when the email campaign starts, so it's a legit site. And usually the email comes from a legit email account because nowadays the botnets don't deliver the email directly from the IP address of the bot. The command and control center delivers credentials to the bots, and these bots connect to legit email accounts, uses those credentials, and deliver the email using legit email accounts. This is how spam works now. So you have a legit email, apparently legit, coming from a legit email account with a link that points to a legit website, because there is one compromised page on the website, but everything else is still normal. How do you manage this? The most important tool is the URL sandboxing. When the email goes through, all of the URLs that are present in the email are rewritten, and the email is delivered. So that at click time, when the user clicks on the link, lands on our sandbox that in that very moment, which means at the very last moment that we perform that check, because the more time we gain, the more information we have, at that moment visits the link, follows the redirects, and most importantly, searches for evasion attempts, because even on the web you have to hide. There are crawlers, there are search engine crawlers that make security checks. There are sandboxes, link sandboxes like ours. There are security crawlers. So if you don't put some obfuscation technique in your web page, in your payload, in a very short while the user will have the right screen and your attack will fail. So you need to put in place some obfuscation and evasion techniques also on the web. And the concept is the same. Also on the web, we search for those techniques and take action based on those. We are on the web here. I'm sure you cannot read, but this is a PAPOL, and this text is interleaved with other text that I have highlighted in brown here that will not be shown to the user. So dynamically, some of the text will be shown, some of the text will not be shown. This is, again, a simple technique that can be complicated, but that makes very hard for an automated system to detect the semantic of the message, to understand that this is a PayPal phishing. Again, it's much easier to detect this pattern and take action based on it, without caring about the semantic of the message. Another obfuscation technique on the web is based on the source. You have one-time links that work only once, and you cannot perform analysis afterwards, or links that provide different content based on the source of the visit. This is very common. You get a visit from a data center IP address, you deliver a legit page or a redirect to a legit site. You get a visit from an IP address of a DSL consumer line, and you drop the payload of a phishing page. This is very, very common and a very easy way to evade the detection from crawlers or from security systems. Our system visits the same page at the same time from multiple locations, multiple IP address spaces, and compares the result. And it's very, very easy to detect these evasion attempts in this way. Other obfuscation techniques, you can see here a lot of numbers, a lot of calculations performed in loop on these numbers. At the end of all of this calculation, you will have some HTML code that will be written or done. So the HTML code, the content of the page, is generated at runtime with a complex calculation, which is really hard to reverse. But it's not easy to detect this kind of pattern. Here we have a similar approach, encoding and decoding stuff. The coding is this text is unescaped and then written on the DOM. And here you have encryption. You have code, HTML code that is encrypted. This is dynamically decrypted before being shown to the user. Again, very hard for an automated system to reverse engineer this process. Very easy to detect the pattern, and this is what we do. So, in the end, we try to change the approach, and so we try to remove the weapons that the attacker needs. What an attacker needs in order to accomplish his task, we remove these tools. In doing that, we are able to detect zero-day threats, new phishings, new malware, and have a system that is more effective and less prone to abuse. We have seen virtual machine sandboxing that was proposed as the solution to this kind of problem, zero-day malware, unknown malware. We never adopted that solution because that tool is a great tool for malware analysis. We use it in the lab. It's a great tool if you want to analyze a malware. It's not a filter. And after 2 months that we have seen the first commercial products based on virtual machine sandboxing on the market, we started seeing malware going through. Because those are open source tools that malware authors nowadays use to test the malware before delivering it. Cuckoo Sandbox is used by every malware author to test its new malware before shipping it. So we need to have more stable solutions to solve this problem. 2 years ago, we deployed our File Sandbox for the first time, and we measured the effectiveness of this approach, removing the weapons that the attacker needs. In a market that is a replacement market, we have a 93% of renewal rate. So having all of your customers renewing your contract rather than having half of them leaving you every year makes the difference and is a concrete proof of the effectiveness of the approach. Do you have any question?
No.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rodolfo.